and before we get to today's episode, we have a quick word from our sponsor. Tired of drinking out of a boring tumbler? Want to make your morning coffee cup one of a kind? Expand with Tipsy Tumblers. You can special order cups, shot glasses, bookmarks, rolling trays for your cigarettes. So you can get one with a picture of a special someone or one with Spider-Man. The options are endless. You can upload your own pictures or pick from her selection of design. With Valentine's Day coming up, this could be a great gift for that special someone, or even just for yourself. Hey, you can use the code GAMES2023 at checkout to save 10%. You go to angeltipsytumblers.myshopify.com. There will also be a link in the show notes. Now on to our episode today.
Mike, turn your games down.
Hi, review episode 212 of Games My Mom Found. I am Mike Albertin, and who's not really a Zelda clone with me tonight?
Hi, this is Blake Anglin.
Michael Hughes.
Hey, Greg Sewart here.
Welcome back, guys. And Greg, where can people find you at?
You can find me on the Player One podcast and at Generation 16 on YouTube.
Both great shows.
Thanks.
I listen to Player One pretty often, and I've listened to Generation 16 too. It's pretty good.
Damn right.
Did you end up? So the game that we're talking about, because when I think of a Sega game, I think of Greg automatically at this point now. But we're here to talk about Crusader of Centy, which developed by Nextech, came out in North America in 1995 and published by Atlas. A game that I didn't know existed for a long time.
Really?
I didn't hear about it until SNES Drunk did a YouTube episode about it, and that's how I first heard about this game.
I think how most people have heard of it is that it's super expensive, like that it's rare. I think that's what
really?
most people know about it, but that's about it. Until the Genesis Mini 2.
When did that come out?
The Mini 2, late last year, like November, I think. October,
I got
November.
a lot of people that commented about it, and because I posted like a few different groups for comments, thinking nobody's gonna answer me, and all of a sudden I got more than I gotten like for anything. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. I'm surprised you'd never heard of it, just because it's just one of those. It seems to me like one of those games that has sort of gotten a lot of virtual ink on the internet more because of its rarity than that people have played it. Yeah,
so, no, I knew nothing about it really until I want to say I think me and you had already met and were already recording at the time when you showed me that video from SNES Drunk or something like that.
Yeah, I know we've talked about this sometime in the past.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm a guy who loved RPGs and grew up in that era and loved, I guess I wasn't much of a Genesis kid. I was a SNES kid, but yeah, I just knew nothing really about this game. And then finally I decided I need to play it finally, once and for all.
Yeah, I mean, I think that people not playing it back when it came out is pretty common as well, because I mean, it was like, a 1995 release. I think it came to the US like last as far as like the different regions. And, Sega in particular was sort of in the throes of like the Genesis is dying, the Sega CD is dying, the 32X thing was happening, and the Saturn was right around the corner. And I forget when E3 was that year. I think it was May, which is when they launched the Saturn. And this came out in March, so it didn't have any time on the shelves, and the Genesis was already waning at that point. So it's not, I personally, as a big Sega fan, I never played it. I had a roommate who rented it and played through it, but I didn't touch this game until a few years back when I was when someone requested that I play it on an Extra Life stream, and even then, like I got a few hours into it, but I didn't finish it. So yeah,
nice.
It was pretty unknown to me too. I knew about it, I just hadn't really played it.
I was mainly drawn to it because it's supposedly a Zelda clone, and it looks like a Zelda clone. It is not a Zelda clone in my opinion.
Yeah,
it just has that same style, but it's a completely different game.
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons I didn't touch it either. Wasn't it looked like sort of a low rent Zelda. I mean, to the point that some of the sprites look like they lifted them directly out of Link to the Past. But it's not. When you play it, it's like this is its own thing, and it's too bad they didn't market it that way, because it really I don't know. It's interesting, at least it's different.
Mm-hmm.
It would have.
It's not like what is it, Neutopia on the TurboGrafx, which is just carbon copy Zelda clone.
Right. Exactly.
I've never heard of this.
Oh, really?
Yeah. TurboGrafx is something that I have no knowledge of.
I got that one on the Wii Virtual Console. That's where I came across it.
Or PC Engine Mini. Again, mini consoles all the way.
You have my attention. What's it called? Neotopia?
Neu? N-E-U, I think, Topia?
I'm going to look this up while we talk.
Good radio.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
I love Zelda. I mean, I love games that are like that. That are, I love that top-down style of Zelda. I love Link to the Past, so I was excited to play something, different. And this game is pretty interesting. I mean, at first I wasn't sure about it. Like, I just didn't know if I didn't really like it at first. I'm like, okay, I can't do anything. All I have is my sword. Like, I was very unsure. And it isn't until you start really getting the animals when the game starts becoming, interesting.
Yeah, because its combat doesn't do it any favors.
No, especially at first. I find that, I mean, he moves so slow and his sword swing is so slow and the range is so short. It's just like I don't know. I spent the first part of the game trying to avoid combat.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like
the whole game trying to avoid combat.
It's not like Lagoon on SNES short where you have just the toothpick you're swinging around, but and the hit detection is so wonky.
You are 100% on that.
Yes.
You mentioned it before I played it, Mike, in the chat, and I was like, okay, let me see what I think. And then it didn't take on like, it took a little bit of getting used to, like, it didn't hit where you think it would hit.
It was to the point where I wasn't sure whether I was going to be able to finish it or not. I'm like, I don't know if I can get used to this. This is off.
Although I found, like, I agree, and it was so weird because he swings his sword in such a wide arc that it feels like you should be kind of protected sort of around 2/3 of his body, but you're not. I think for me the first time I really felt that was in the valley area where when you get near the top and those birds are attacking you from different directions. It's just like, well, I feel like I should have just hit that thing and I didn't. Like, but I'm sure my sword went through it.
Oh, it did. It's just not the part that mattered.
Yeah.
I think it was the tip of the sword or something was what mattered, like a certain part of the swing. It was weird hit. It was really weird hit detection.
To the point that by the end of the game, I don't know that I was using my regular sword swing. I was throwing the sword constantly. That's the best way to fight anything at the end of the game.
I was waiting for an opportunity to bring that up too. It's like that's the way to go.
Yeah,
and you get that pretty early because it's the first. You have to get it in the first area that you go to in little training grounds. You have to get that throwable sword, and otherwise you can't progress through the first area.
Right,
where you fight the wolf that wanted to eat grandma for some reason. That's the first boss in this game. But hey.
Oh God.
It was weird.
There was a few kind of weird nods like that. There was like a Dorothy and the tornado kind of reference, the big red wolf reference. I wonder if that was purposeful. I guess so.
Well, yeah, but it's odd. Like, I don't understand. It was stuff that I wouldn't have expected.
You get in that boss fight and he like hits himself on the head with a hammer and then you're dodging the star spin around his head while he's kind of stumbling around. It's like, oh God, it's going to be one of these games.
That's great.
Where the localization team just absolutely had a ball, obviously.
Oh, yeah. But it's not, I feel like it wasn't that serious of a conflict. I mean, it's supposed to be. I mean, the whole idea is that, again, like Zelda, you go, get the legendary sword and shield that were your dad's who, protected this world. And you're 14, go now, bye.
You get 10% of the story up front and then nothing until like the last fifth of the game. And then it's the other 90%.
Right. Yeah.
It's just weird.
I mean, at least it's different. I mean, you're talking about the localization, and my takeaway from it was that, boy, I would love to see, and maybe there is a good like translation patch for this thing, because God, the localization is so rough. And it's, I mean, even when you get down to even things like, and I don't know, maybe this makes me sound like too much of a stickler for this sort of thing, but like even like the spaces after periods, like even the leading on the text is so bad that it just, you sort of lose the personality. And it felt like the deeper you got into the game, the worse it got. Almost like, well, no one's really going to see this anyway. So,
there was a real bucket quality to the last like fourth of the game.
Right. And it's such a shame because the storyline gets so intricate at the end where like they're actually starting to talk about really serious things like, the discrimination against monsters and the relationship between human and monsters. And you're constantly jumping back in time and jumping forward. And it's never clear that's what's going on. Like, if you just go by the text, it's like, oh, wait, I'm in the past right now. I had no idea I was in the past right now. Like, until I jump forward again. It's like, man, oh, man, I don't know what's happening at this point.
Or why you're traversing through time, like in each area you go to during that part of the game when you're kind of revisiting. There's no, like, knowledge of it. You're just there.
You're just playing Storm Chaser Simulator.
Exactly. and it's the cyclone that's sending you back in time. But it's like, you kind of discover that. No one seems to tell you, or if they do tell you, it's in such broken English that you have no idea what's going on.
Well, I guess they just didn't either didn't care, or they were like, well, this is so late, we shouldn't even be doing this at this point, because I think was the 32X already out?
Oh yeah.
Okay, 32Xs. Ugh.
Yeah.
I don't like it. I played one game. I only played one 32X game. Probably only ever will play one 32X game. Knuckles Chaotix.
Oh,
Probably
God.
it.
The peak of 32X.
I like that game. So
I will not have you all besmirching the 32X.
I've never played anything else but that. But it just seems like it's not a very good thing. But
yeah, the 32X was out. That's what I mean. That's one of the reasons why I think a lot of people didn't even touch this, because like either if you were a hardcore Sega fan, you were actually dealing with 32X at that point, and if you weren't, you were just sort of rolling your eyes at Sega in general and weren't playing anything that they released.
Because I think I would have really liked this back then if I would have played it.
Same.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think it would have been something that would have stuck with me. I mean, I felt this game was kind of hard. Like, I don't know if I would have been able to do it without save states because I cheated the hell out of it on my Steam Deck. But it was, I mean, maybe as a kid I would have figured it out because I wouldn't have had a choice. But as an adult, I had a choice.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even without the story being there, like you guys are saying, you know, with the fact that you can't really tell what the hell's going on, I still really enjoyed just the combat for the most part and just the exploration. I should say probably not the combat because I'm like Blake, I skip most enemies, but I still enjoyed just being in the world and going through the levels and doing what I had to do. And like early on, you get the jump ability from a bunny, so you get to jump, which improves the game a lot, in my opinion.
Yeah.
The platforming is pretty good, actually, I thought.
Yeah,
Better than Brain Lords.
That's amen, sister.
it's a high
That's
bar,
the
huh?
truth right there.
High bar. Bringing up two
did
terrible
oddly
Super
remind
Nintendo
me of
games,
that game, though. There
Lagoon
were
and
so
Brain
many
Lord.
times-
That's all I can
Right,
do is
yeah,
speak
yeah.
in references.
Yeah, we could do that all day. Just code this whole fucking podcast. But it did remind me of a few different games, you know, playing throughout. Like, I guess it's that era. There's just some tropes and stuff. But I'm surprised it's not a more well-known game. I guess I didn't know it was so rare. I'm sure that plays into it. But like, I was just kind of struck by like how, I don't know, for the era, how much fun I was having and how kind of competent it felt in a lot of parts. Like there's definitely some translation issues. We can get into some of the oddities of it, but like it's a pretty good game, I thought.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, it's like I say, it's doing a lot of interesting stuff. It's a shame that it starts so slow, and the sword combat is so rough in general because, you know, like I think the animal companion thing is actually pretty cool, and there's actually a lot of depth to that whole element, but it's
you start
so
comboing them.
long, right? Yeah, like, you know, and they even tell you about it on that sub screen that if you've got two animals that combo together, it actually tells you, which is nice. But it's like it takes so long to get to the point where it's relevant. Like you have that dog that does literally nothing for most of the first part of the game, and it's like, okay, I mean, I'm sure this is an important thing, but he's just following me around and he's not really functional. I know he can hold enemies or something like that, but you know,
Is that what he
feels
does?
like a nothing feature. Yeah, if you press C and he'll jump in front of you, and I think if you do it when he touches an enemy, he'll hold them for a second. I could be
Okay,
wrong. I don't know because I never actually did it.
I never
Yeah.
did. I mean, I made him stop once in a while.
Yeah,
Right.
was when I pushed the button, he would just stop in place. I'm like, well, that's useless.
Yeah.
The fucking animations though, like of the animals following you, especially when you turn like 90 degrees, just killed me every single time.
How they just move like.
They just move like it's like a clock hand.
I like the animal. I shouldn't say gimmick. I like the whole idea of the animals following you and the combo system with that. Like at first I thought, like again, like it takes a bit for this game to get going with that because you get the dog and I think you get the flying squirrel, which lets you throw your sword farther. But it really doesn't get going for a little bit into this game, probably over an hour into it before you really kind of start getting animals to where you start seeing the effect of it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Around the time you get like the sword bounce is when I started to feel like, okay, you know, this is getting kind of neat.
Yeah, the sword bounce takes a while too.
But yeah, because the game is so, I mean, the puzzles are pretty cool. Like the sword bounce thing is a great example. There's that level where you have to keep throwing it through valleys in order to you know, move the lava flow and burn down all the trees that are in your way and stuff. It's like, that's pretty awesome. I really like that a lot. There's some really clever puzzles in this game.
Yeah. Oh, and then
There's
one
some very
of the
obscure
animals
ones, too.
you get really early on that I want to ask you what you guys did because for the cheetah you have to race the cheetah. Did anybody try to race the cheetah legit and not just pay him?
I did.
Yeah,
I
like
beat
a
him once.
fucking dozen times.
You can pay him?
Yeah, you can pay him and you run
You
slower.
can bribe him.
What? Nope, didn't do that. It took me
I
like 3
bribed him.
tries.
at least a dozen times. It was like, this is fucking impossible. And then, I looked it up. It's like, God damn it. You can just.
Or apparently what speedrunners do is they go forward, turn around the car, back up, and then they just sit on the line, wait for the lap to change, then go in a circle and do that 3 times until they win.
What?
I love it.
So, I'm watching a speedrun video of it right now, and that's what they did. So they just somehow, by doing that, it tricks it, thinking, oh, yep, you did a lap, when actually you didn't do anything.
Stupid animals.
I really like that cheetah. He was there all the time because the fact that you run faster, I'm like, this is how I want to play this game.
I love
he's the MVP.
Him and Leviathan, because then your sword swing got faster too.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, now this controls the way I wanted to control.
And more importantly, it charged up faster when he threw it.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
Yeah.
You combine the cheetah with the...
Those.
Go ahead, Blake.
Yeah. Well, you pair either of those with the I think it's the dodo that like strengthens the abilities.
Yeah.
And then you're
saying.
swinging it like a madman or running so fast you're bouncing into walls. I was like, that's all right. That's pretty good.
I learned pretty quickly you can't have dodo and cheetah together if you're trying to traverse because you run too fast.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost too much. Yeah.
But it was cool. I mean, that's what makes this game so unique is all the the animal abilities you have, and I think that could be overlooked by people who if you only play a bit of this game, you don't get into any of that. And since you brought Leviathan, I have to mention that I don't know if that's a translation error, but isn't that the boss when you run into him? He's like, here, if you don't, I brought your mother. I'm going to kill your mother while we fight.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that's a great example of what I'm saying about the rough translation, where it's just like, okay, I think I get what you were going for there. Like the whole thing was, if you love your mother, you want to protect her, and and you find out that he can draw out an image of a loved one from your mind or something like that. But it's like it's also totally lost in the mangled translation.
I laughed so fucking hard.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
And she didn't have I don't think she had a life bar either because she got hit a few times. I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
Well, if you
she restores his health.
Exactly. If she gets hit, he gets more health.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Come on,
that
man.
was also weird. Like to tell enemies health because you would have. I mean, the health is apples in this game because you can't do hard copyright. But you don't always see the enemy's health unless you hit them, and you can only hit them with the flying sword.
Right.
Which I thought was weird too. That only the flying sword hurts them for some reason for bosses.
I was like, thank God. Why would you want to get close to them with that tiny range you have on your sword anyway? For me, though, I found that it was hard. The hit animation was so hard to see that half the time I was hurting them, and I didn't even realize I was hitting them.
Yeah, for sure.
And like Mike said, the health's up in the
dead.
The health's up in the top left corner, and like you don't see it detract. It just shows up, and however much damage you did is gone from it.
Right. Yeah.
So it doesn't. I mean, so you just realize, okay, if I see it, it means it worked. So therefore, I know I'm hurting them, but I don't really understand what the hell I'm doing.
Like, just leave it on screen. Castlevania did it 100 years ago.
Yeah. Exactly.
No, and I would have appreciated that. But I mean, again, I had the guide that was telling me exactly what to do. Like, okay, use this combo and throw this sword at them. And I'm like, all right, at least I know it's what I'm doing, what I'm supposed to be doing. Because that first boss, I didn't know if I was hurting them or what was going on. I was so confused.
that was for me as well. And it's like, because I hadn't put together the whole like, oh wait, there are little green apples that are appearing, but like you just said, it's not showing the health go down. It's just showing health. It's just showing whatever the absolute number is at that second, and then it disappears again. So it's like, okay, I guess I'm doing this right. I don't know.
It's a very strange concept at first. I mean, it grew on me after a bit, and I understood it better. But in the very beginning, it's very strange. I didn't understand what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I did
that way the entire game.
Oh, really? Yeah, I really felt I was really feeling good about it by the end of the game. I was like, okay, I get this now. I'm into this. But
I mean, one thing that took me a little bit to understand is when you get chili pretty early on in this game, which is the penguin that gives your sword freezing ability. Mm-hmm. And it was the fire dragon that you see where you have to throw your sword with chili equipped, otherwise nothing happens. Mm-hmm. And I remember that was one of the parts, like one of my aha moments, like, oh, okay, now I'm starting to understand. Because I tried to hit him and it did nothing because the ability only happens when you throw the sword for some reason.
See, and like when you start to really play around with that, because I mean, you get into the area where you're surrounded by lava, and it's like, okay, well, I have ice magic, so that's got to be more effective, right? And there were those like inchworm things that you would, if you hit them once, they would roll up into a ball and they'd ricochet around a little bit.
Yes.
But if you have chili and you throw your sword at them, they freeze in place, and you can actually get them on the return swing. So like, the way that I was fighting those things, because you had to hit them twice, was like, and I think I had what was it? I think it was the squirrel where you had to press a button to retrieve the sword to have it come back at you. So you just get in front of them and you throw it once and it would freeze them. And then you call the sword back after, however long their sort of hit invincibility took, and it would hit them again on the way back. And that was like the way to deal with them. It was like, okay, so there's like a lot. That's what I mean. It's such a shame that the animal stuff comes in so late in the game because it adds so much strategy to the gameplay that's just not there otherwise. Otherwise, it's just sort of a really crappy Zelda clone. Yeah. That it's, it would be nice to see that earlier because it really reminded me of like a discussion I had when I got my first game dev job, and we had like a couple of cool bosses that in my mind, like as sort of the gamer sensibility, it's like, well, this is the coolest boss we have, so it should be the final boss. This is the coolest thing in our game, so it should be the finale. And I remember my boss saying to me like, yeah, but what is it, like 80% of your players are never going to see past the 50% point of your game. So why hide the best things at the very end? I was like, okay, that makes sense. And this game, I feel like, really suffers from that. It's like all the coolest shit is in the last 2 hours of the game. Yeah.
I mean, I find that weird. I mean, I know it's true, but I find it weird to me because I beat most games I start. I try to, at least. Probably like less than 5% of the games I play, I don't finish or so. But I know that that's not normal for people.
For sure.
And I like that flying squirrel ability where you throw the sword and you can like kind of follow it around as it bounces around, but the camera follows it because you have to use it for puzzles later on. So you could be taking damage off screen and not even know it.
That was annoying. There were some odd things in it, like especially if you have the flying squirrel, and I think was it Dodo or some of the other ones where it just doesn't come back for a while.
Like, it could go right off the screen.
You're like, oh, there goes my sword. Bye. I did that a couple times back. Like, oh yeah, wrong animal combination. One boss that I have to talk about because of how stupid it was is when you go to the Tower of Babel, which I like because again, as Mike had pointed out because he was playing this before I was. He's like, oh, you got me playing Illusion of Gaia again. I'm like, what? And then I'm like, oh, okay, I gotcha. And as you start to climb the tower for the first time, you fight. You try to climb a rope, and all of a sudden the rope becomes a boss and has a heart. And I was just like, this is funny and stupid.
Yeah.
So bizarre.
That was like I think there were a ton of that, and racing the cheetah were the two things that I did remember about the game. And I think it had everything to do with like, those are the screenshots you saw in magazines back then. Because again, I hadn't really played it, but I remember, having a kart racer in the middle of a Zelda clone was such an oddity that everybody was talking about it. And I think that rope boss was just sort of considered pretty impressive at the time.
Okay, that would make sense.
So, yeah.
I really don't like kart things after playing Ratchet and Clank and Sly Cooper too. I'm like, I don't want kart stuff in any game. It's not a kart game.
I did. You guys remember the part where it's like a puzzle. It's kind of a play on a classic puzzle where you have to move like the bird and the caterpillar.
Oh yeah.
Like
When you're a slime.
That stuck out to me. You're a slime. Yeah. And like the puzzle was fine. It's cool. It's great. It's like
you just casually say that when you're a slime.
You're a slime.
Well, you get transferred into a slime. I know.
Slime's on your body, so you're a slime.
Naturally.
Normal shit. So, but like you do that, and you come back into the room, and it's like a witch. It's like, good job, you solved my puzzle. And then like the caterpillar comes in. It's like, I'm fucking tired of being an experiment. This sucks, and leaves. It's
a weird game.
Bizarre.
I love the thing I really loved about him. That's Pieces the caterpillar. And if you go on I'm just trying to find it. If you go on the subscreen, I don't know if you guys noticed this or not, but on the subscreen where all the animals are listed, they all have quotes.
Yes.
And like Pieces' quote is, "Sorry, I don't have any powers. I'm proud but useless." And I was like, you go,
just
Pieces.
Like me, Pieces.
Yeah. I feel you, bro.
I think the lions is a Beavis and Butthead reference. It says like fire.
It is. You're right.
See, whenever I hear fire, I go, heh, but not because of Beavis and Butthead. But I know it's a reference to that. Damn it, FF6.
Mm-hmm.
Always in my head. Amazing. I hate the fact that it's a Beavis and Butthead reference, not just something that they put in there, because that's my brain goes to sick. It's not okay. So,
well, you never know. I mean, they might have taken it from that. There's the Sonic appearance, and
it's so I don't know if you guys noticed this. Near the end, when you talk to your dog again, he says direct quote, "Bow wow wow, yippee yo, yippee yay."
Uh-huh.
Yep. And I was like, okay, all right, this isn't a coincidence here.
At least you didn't say yippee ki yay, motherfucker. So hey,
that's way better.
It's just the thing to do in the '90s is to reference everything.
It's true. Yeah, I love it.
In the 2020s too.
It's just a thing. I guess we all fucking do it like all the time.
Another thing, like I want to talk about the game had an ice temple, which was actually like that's where you fight Leviathan, but that was a really cool dungeon. I mean, I think that's one of the only real dungeons in this game, or one of the few. But that was a good dungeon. It felt like a Zelda dungeon.
Yeah, I like the multi-layered. I like the scrolling, first of all, especially on a system where, like real transparency wasn't a thing. I thought they did a pretty good job with using the dithering, make it look interesting. But I did love that you were like, on the upper levels or lower levels and sort of affecting what was happening on the other levels too as part of the puzzle system in there. It was really great. There's a few nice touches like that. There was also like the floors that would break away, especially in the lava areas where when you're walking and you see, oh wait, I'm leaving a trail, and it's because the floors are actually crumbling behind me. Well, that's kind of cool. You didn't see that a lot.
I did like
it was neat. And then there was the fucking rubber bands, which were like the most infuriating part of the game for me.
They're not often, thankfully, but yeah.
Oh God. Like
Annoying.
It seemed totally random to me. Like I never once understood like the physics at work there.
No.
I'm just like slamming myself into rubber bands until I get to where I'm trying to
the
go.
game didn't either. You just had to hope that it worked the way it was supposed to.
That's exactly what it felt like.
I mean, that's what save states are for. I would just let it go. Okay, did I make it past? Did I die? Oh, reload. All right, let's try again. I had no idea what the hell was going on. This was a great save state game, though, because there were so many times where I could just redo something and get a completely different effect. Some of the weird stuff like that with the rubber band thing.
I never actually tried the in-game save. Does that save your, how did that work exactly? Did anyone test that out?
It's saved, but I don't know if it saved everything you've done, but it kind of threw you back to the beginning of whatever area you were in.
Okay, that's what I kind of figured.
But I think anything you'd accomplished had still been accomplished. You know what I mean? Like it was a save anywhere, but it would start you back where a checkpoint was.
Yeah. Okay.
I used it here and there just as a backup to make sure I didn't lose my save, because I'd been very upset. But I didn't. I never turned off the game where I used it to load.
It is cool that it'll let you save anywhere, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that in any game just because of maybe you only have 10 minutes to play. You only, you just want to be done. And I remember RPGs when I was younger, I don't have time to play through this, to get to a save point, or be like, oh, you're going to be late for this. I'm going to be late for dinner, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, we've got pretty far into this without talking about the main story plot that's right up front, where the fortune teller takes away your ability to speak to humans. That's why you're getting all these animal companions.
For 80% of the game.
Yeah, most of the game.
Bold call there.
Oh, and Blake, don't feel bad. I'm watching the speedrun video, and he did the rubber band part. He died twice before he got it right. So
the speed run.
Yes, and I mean,
Really
okay,
random.
with speedrunners they do this all the time, so that means that there must be some just randomness to it.
Yeah, it was fucking awful. Especially this one part where you're bouncing off 12 of them to get across this pit, and I just slammed myself in those rubber bands so many times.
It was in the tower, right? Where every floor was a different puzzle.
Yep.
I think so. Yeah.
The tower. That fucking tower.
It's
Yeah,
like the gimmick of you take the elevator up first and then you come back. It's like, elevator's broken. It's like, oh yeah, of course it is.
I mean, the puzzle rooms were cool, but to go back to what Mike was saying, it's weird how this fortune teller takes away your ability, and you can't talk to humans for a good chunk of the game before you finally get it back. Where every human you talk to is just gibberish.
I mean, at least it was. I found. I mean, I don't know how much it really added to the game personally, but at least it was different. Again, I think of that a lot about this game. It's well, you know what? At least it's not just a Zelda clone. I mean, at least it tried something different. I loved how what was the name of the hero at the beginning? Amon, the guy who leaves right before you, when you go see the king for the first time.
Yeah,
and it's this amazing. Yeah, and it's this amazing hero, and I kind of like how you come across him multiple times, when you get turned into a slime and he's actually hunting you, or in the ice labyrinth when he's frozen. I kind of wish they'd put a button on that story, because you kind of never hear from him again after that.
Well,
but it was kind of a cool little parallel thing. Do they? Did I miss it?
Yes. So at the very end, he's in prison in the castle.
I missed that.
Why is he in prison?
Why is he in prison?
I fucking no clue. It's a great question. It makes me wonder what the fuck he's doing
He got arrested
out there.
According to TV trope, it says in an older
sword.
Yeah.
Go ahead. He took a dark path, it turns out.
In the altered timeline at the end of the game, Amon is portrayed as a blood knight who ends up in prison.
Oh, right, because he sort of, I guess that's like a bloodthirsty thing where now the humans and the monsters are getting along with each other or something.
That makes sense.
I'm sure I'm down for it. That works.
Okay.
And I thought it was weird. Can someone explain to me? All right, so that you meet the fortune teller, she takes your ability to speak to humans, and then she like fucks off for the rest of the game. And then like you meet all these. Well, you meet like whatever it is that like restores, and it when you get your language back, it's kind of phrased to me. It seemed like it's like I have returned the human language to you all. And it's like, well, like why did I get it taken? Like, who are you? Why are you giving it back? Like, what's the link here?
Definitely a translation error.
That's what I'm saying. It desperately needs a good translation.
I took it as like she was the antagonist, that she was trying to punish the humans for hunting monsters, and then slowly over the game, everyone else loses the ability to talk to each other.
It's because if you go, that big crater that you jump into at one point, I mean, she jumped into it for you. The flower on that screen tells you that. But yeah, after that, I kind of lost the thread.
Jumped in there.
Who?
Because Dorothy, like the girl with the magic shoes that went back in the past.
Oh, maybe. I thought it was her.
The lore is so complex and deep. I love that we could all take away from our own.
I wasn't even paying attention to the story.
We all play the game and have different theories on what the story actually is.
I didn't even care what was going on. I was like, I got to beat this game for this podcast. I'm just gonna follow my mindset.
Nice.
And I like story games. I'm a big I love RPGs. I like story, but just in this game, I don't know. Wasn't that interested.
I'm waiting on a VodiVidya's lore video for this one to really dig into it.
I do love his videos.
And then we'll go from there.
I do want to talk about the whole Sky Fortress thing in Tower of Babel, because this, again, I kind of joked about earlier what Mike had said, where it did remind me of Illusion of Gaia again. It really did. And that made me happy, because that's a good game.
Yeah, it's all right.
Yeah. Do they... God, it's been so long since I've played that. Is there a speech element to that? I mean, obviously the tower, the tower is like famous for that in the Bible or whatever, but did Illusion just drop the name? Because it had like Machu Picchu in the game, just like randomly. I don't know if it was, I can't remember.
I mean, the whole idea is that you get to the Sky Palace once you've climbed the tower, and I think up there is where you start being able to understand humans again. Or at least you can understand the humans that are up there. The whole point of it is that it's supposed to represent like humans and animals trying to be unified or something along those lines. But it's definitely a major plot point from that perspective, I think.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Allegedly.
You go there a few different times, because the first time one of the times you go there, you lose your caterpillar. He just goes on the wall and leaves you. And it isn't until way later you get him back at the butterfly lets you control your sword, which is also kind of it's kind of cool. I mean, the game makes you backtrack a lot, but I don't know if I would have figured out without a guide as much, because I mean, later on, we're talking about all the time travel stuff, you have tornadoes, so you can know, there's a tornado, I got to go here and do something.
Even with a guide, I was lost half the damn time. Especially trying to find like the human and animal versions of each village.
Yeah, I
was constantly getting swapped up there.
I don't think I would have put together some of the buddies. Like, there's one to get the ability to throw stuff. You have to talk to an elephant after you jump on his door for 3 times to open it. Like, I don't think that would have clicked. There's one with Drippy.
One of the NPCs tells you that they have like a pressure plate in front of their door, and normal people have to jump on it multiple times.
Okay, so
that's a neat touch in theory, but yeah, there's a lot of those like you miss one if you don't talk to the right NPC twice, you'll miss like a vital clue or even progression period.
I had trouble getting back to the past the first time because you have to talk to the little girl and then the grandma to hear the story, and then talk to the little girl twice more before the flower will tell you that, hey, you jump in here to go whatever.
Yeah, very specific orders for things, even when it should be right. Like,
that was a thing at this time for RPGs. Oh, that was a thing for Final Fantasy XI for a guy who played that way too much. If you didn't talk to a certain NPC, you go all this way through this quest. Oh, sorry, you didn't talk to one person. You got to start over.
It's so dumb. That's what I love about 7, because I just played 7 for the first time like last year, and you go into any town, and there's usually an NPC right up front. And you talk to him, and they're like, hey, something's going on in this town on the other side of the world. You should go check that out. Like, that's what I need. I need someone to hold my hand every so often. I don't have time to just wander. Okay, where am I going next? This is pissing me off.
I'm the same. If I don't use a guide, I want the game to tell me. In this game, this game is following that era of things where things weren't as communicated well on purpose. It's meant to be, you figured this out. One of the animals that I thought was weird that I didn't really care for was the armadillo, where you grab him and you throw him in things. Like, at one point you throw him in a pit, and somehow when you throw him in the pit, he ends up becoming a platform.
Yeah, I mean, that's his whole power, is to be a platform.
Yeah, but I didn't think it would work when you throw him down a pit. There's literally there's a part where there's a pit where you fall under and die, and you have to throw him into it, and he becomes a platform in the pit.
Clearly, you haven't done your research on armadillos.
Apparently, I didn't want one when I was a kid.
This is a well-known armadillo fact, Mike.
Yeah, come on, man.
It was just weird to me. I don't know. It was one of the ones where I'm like, I would not have put 2 and 2 together without a guide because I don't think I ever would have thought. Because I didn't. I'm like, okay, I must got to go backwards. And I was trying to play this game every so often without a guide and just search around and look for stuff. And it didn't last long before I'm like, no, put the guide back on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I really tried to do it solo, and there were just, especially towards the end, I'm like, okay, I just need to get through this.
My favorite example is there's a part where there's invisible platforms. If there was an indication they were there, I don't know it, but you just jump into the ether and it forms out letters of your dog who you then have to equip at a door. It's just like,
yeah, that was pretty.
What are we doing here?
Like, I'm all for good puzzles, but man, that's just esoteric as hell.
Yeah, it's a little out there. How did they know that my dog's name was Mac? Like, what?
Did it change if you named it something else?
I knew. Yeah, I don't think I knew his name was Mac until that moment.
It doesn't really. Someone says it. I think your mother says it if you talk to her. Something about Mac.
And there's a sign. It's like Mac's house. Don't feed.
Well, I think it tells you on the equip screen too. But I mean, if you're equipping the dog, yeah.
Who the hell's equipping the dog? Useless. I only used them a couple times when the guy told me you have to use them. I'm like, screw, he doesn't do anything. He's useless.
But the invisible puzzle told you to use his name. Like, how more obvious could you be?
Hey, you know what else? You know what else is useless in this game? Money.
Man, oh man, every town needed a way to heal. Jesus, there's no way to heal in this game.
But it wasn't just me.
Okay.
Now, until the very end, like at the little boss rush with the 5 senses, that one,
the mother there,
the mother could.
The woman you save from the wolf tells you that anytime you need healed, you can come back and see me and I'll take care of you. But just having an inn to sleep in or something.
Yeah.
But
that's a good question. Did you guys have any spots to go, like a go-to spot to heal
per place?
I had one.
Once
Save the mode.
Once the map was open, before I went to any new area, I would traipse all the way back to that valley and go find her, and then also go to the nearest store, because there were stores where you could rent animals and make sure I rented the cat. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. I bought the cat, but I didn't know that, or rented a cat, I guess.
Once you used him, he was gone, right?
Yeah, the one-time use.
You could re-buy them. You could re-rent them. So, I mean, that was all the money was good for. That was it.
And then there's one person that sells you a health upgrade for like 800 coins, which by the end of the game, I still didn't have.
Yeah, exactly.
I never got it. I never had 800 coins either. Even though I collected all the money bags, but I would spend money on. I rented each of the animals I could, even though like there's one that blows up stuff. I never used it. I just wanted to fill all my boxes.
Same.
And then there's just like stupid stuff like you have to pay to race the cheetah and other things like that, where it's just a few coins. But yeah, they really needed to do more with that system.
Yeah,
for sure. But I mean, that's up into. Although I think also when you got to the point where you could speak to humans again, that lady in the valley stops healing you.
Oh, that's stupid.
Yeah. But her house is like totally 5 crates of apples in front of it, so you just go out and get the apples, and then
Also, the health bar is weird, where all of a sudden you'll get different bars worth of it, or you just have an apple at the top that has a counter. I thought it was like a life sign, but it's not.
Yeah,
it's like an apple.
It's just telling you have one full set.
Yeah, it took me a bit to realize what was happening.
Yeah, man, we're complaining about this game a lot, which is funny because I honestly did enjoy it, but it's so rough. I enjoyed it in spite of itself, I guess. You
fight a puppet at one point too, for some reason, a weird puppet master. Oh, and the way you get Dodo is you find Dodo dead because he's extinct. But then when you go back into pass and you talk to him, then he'll join you.
I totally did not make that connection.
I didn't either, but
dead. Yeah,
the internet told me.
Yeah,
but yeah, he said because he's Dodo, he's extinct. I don't know. I did not like the puppet master fight for some reason. I had a hard time with that one hitting him. I don't know why.
I'm trying to remember what the fight was.
He's a guy in a carpet or something, or on a book. He makes a puppet.
You have to hit the puppet, and you have to hit the puppet.
When he's putting the puppet back together, you can hit him.
Right.
But he's running really fast.
Yeah, I didn't find that too hard. I think I had Leviathan at that point, and I was just
annoyed me.
Sword at him like crazy.
I think it was more
the fire does extra damage to him. I guess because it's a wooden puppet, which I thought was kind of neat. So it just like burns him down.
That seemed like the real key was making sure you're using the right magic on your sword for the final sets of bosses.
The fire was cool. That how you get him to, you have to like bounce the sword to hit a switch to let him out, but you need Inferno, which is a fire lion. That's cool. I really like that. Another thing this game did that was good is that once you finish an area, you can just walk over it on the world map, which we haven't talked about yet. You don't actually have to go in and go through the area over and over again. You can just walk past it.
Yeah.
If you want to.
Thank God.
I'm going to make Blake real happy. There's another 16-bit game that has a world map like this, is RoboTrek for Super Nintendo.
RoboTrek.
I need to play
It
this.
reminds me of, oh God, was it Skyblazer, I think, on Super Nintendo?
Oh, yeah.
It had like a little faux world map. Maybe I'm thinking something else.
Yeah. Skyblazer's a platformer.
Okay. The world map on this reminded me of some other game.
It could be Soulblazer.
It could be. It's like a kind of like a faux world map. I guess it's almost like a Mario world type world map. You know?
Yeah. Without
the ice area and the fire area and the forests.
The little dots. It's a small place. Not a lot of people there.
Completely stuck in this game at one point when you go back in the past and you have to fight like the hermit crab boss. And for some reason, the game wouldn't progress for me because I had to talk to somebody and I was missing a certain person. And like I fought the boss, the monkey's dying, but I'm like, I can't go back to the present. And I don't know. I don't remember what I did. I must have talked to NPC I was missing, and all of a sudden everything worked, and I was.
Yeah, I think you need to talk to everybody in the animal village after that.
Okay,
and I think you need to talk to. One. You might need to talk to everybody in the room where he's dying twice.
Okay,
something like that.
Naturally.
And the guy triggers you clicking your shields together and going to the future again.
Also, the fact that to get to the hermit crab boss, you have to jump in between some enemy stars that will move when you get close to them in order to activate the boss fight. Like I was together.
I did it randomly and then looked it up and was like, oh, there's supposed to be stars there. I just got lucky as hell. Just jumped on the right spot.
I would not have.
The beach is where you see Sonic.
I don't understand that, but yes,
no sense.
Just Sonic. And he didn't look right. His sprite just did not look right for what you were playing. He's too big. It really bothered me.
I don't think you should. I don't think you should really. I don't know, put too much stock in any of it.
Oh no, it's not like it affected anything for the game. It just bothered me in a weird thing. I'm like, why the fuck is he so big?
That's probably just because Sega published this in Japan and Europe, so they're like, oh, we can put Sonic in here. Why not?
Oh, yeah, no, it wasn't like it didn't detract anything from the game. No.
Well, I remember I read I don't even know where I read this somewhere, that this game actually started life as part of the Shining series.
Oh.
Huh.
Was a potential Shining game. I don't know how long it stayed that way, but that was the thing I learned about this when I went and sort of did a minuscule amount of research on this game. I happened across that. It's like, oh, that's interesting. I don't see it, but that's interesting.
I don't either, because those at this time they all would have been especially just strategy RPGs.
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
I'm going to assume the Overlook Hotel was like cut from the game in an early build when you say it's a Shining game, and just use that as my own headcanon.
That's good. I like that.
Oh, you never played any Shining Force games?
I've never played one. I'm like familiar with them vaguely.
Okay, I played Shining Force 1 multiple times, but I need to beat it. I quit it every time, and one day I'm gonna make myself play it because it's a good game.
I played Shining Soul. Is that part of the same series?
It is.
Yes.
I think. Yeah.
And there's Shining Wisdom, which came out the same year as this, actually. So, and that was an overhead Zelda style game too.
Oh.
So, Shining wasn't just Shining Force. The strategy RPGs were like by far the biggest part of the series, because there were like 9 of them. But there was like Shining in the Darkness, and there was Shining Wisdom, and Shining Soul as well. And so it's not totally unrealistic that they had another Zelda-style game that was possibly part of the Shining series. But yeah, because Shining Wisdom came out in August that year, so it would have been being developed.
Yeah, this one, Shining Wisdom, looks like a Zelda clone.
It is. It's absolutely a Zelda clone.
Yeah, I don't consider it an insult. Like, I know that's kind of how people would use it for this game, as an insult to Zelda clone when this game is so different. So.
Yeah.
And I do take it back. This game has more dungeons than what I was saying. I'm watching the video. I just forgot enough. Like, you have the tower you go up to, you get thrown in prison for one part. Like, there's lots of little things this game makes you do to proceed through it. And, I thought it was interesting enough. Like, I was always entertained playing this game. I wasn't bored. I do want to talk about that. At one point, you go back in the past, like, to fight the mother of monsters, and you fight a giant heart as your boss.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I thought that was kind of interesting.
I thought it was kind of cool that the final boss rush was like the 5 senses. It's like, okay, sure, why not? At least there's some sort of theme here.
They were really easy. I did like the one where you have to kind of like use the spikes to do the damage. Like, that was neat.
Yeah.
I thought.
Yeah.
But other than that, I was kind of unimpressed. The idea is great for sure, but like it seemed really simple. Especially
I
since
didn't
you can
like
heal. It's the only place you can heal.
Yeah, I don't like the sense of sight with the giant eyeball under the platforms.
Oh, I love that.
I just kind of got lucky.
That's a cool
started
fight.
throwing my sword around. I'm like, oh god,
I
hit
just
him.
used the butterfly. So I just controlled the sword and followed the eye around. Fucked it up the whole time. I loved it.
Nice.
That's cool. Okay, that's a good way to do it. The guy just told me just to keep throwing the swords. That's what I did. But that's cool.
Yeah, I saw the same thing. Life hack. If there's a giant eye under a breakaway roof, just remember that, guys. You just use your butterfly.
Run your sword around.
Use the butterfly to keep your sword out there, and you're good.
It can fly twice as high.
Wow.
The animal combos are cool though, and there's so many different varieties to it, and I think that's good. There's also a small theme when you go back in the past where you have monsters you scare out of prison. They go to church and then they just get murdered by the guards.
That was some shit.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, this.
Guards.
Yeah, like, they didn't put up a fight. We just murdered them.
It's like, what the fuck?
It's a nice happy game until it's really not.
Yeah. See, that's what I'm saying. It needs a better translation because there's a lot going on in that game at the end. You're just like, man, I wish this made more sense. And I wish it didn't feel like it was translated or the English text was written by like a 4-year-old. Like, you know.
It probably was just one guy too, I bet.
Oh, I'm sure it was.
Wasn't that the thing back then? Just one guy, like, here you go, have fun.
Yeah.
We need
What
to
if that's
Saturday.
why they took away the human speech? Because they're like, oh, fuck, guys. Like, our translator's doing an awful job. Just fucking take away speech for most of the game. Like, you're good.
It totally reads like it was actually the English text was not written by someone who was like a native English speaker. That's really what it comes off as.
Yeah, and he gave it to like his friend's son for like a cursory glance over, you know, beforehand.
Who's learning to read?
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, I didn't talk to many NPCs though. Something the game made me. I don't know. Oh, one of the other pets that we had animals that joins you get a dinosaur that lets you walk across spikes and stuff. I like Dippy.
Yeah, Dippy's great.
I just thought
until you need him in the past where there's a pool of water and you have to get the shoes out of the chest. I'm like, oh, well, just use Dippy. He's let me across every body of water, you know, so far. And it's no, of course not this.
You need the armadillo.
Water.
Yeah, you need
to have the armadillo
because armadillos float apparently. Mighty.
Oh yeah, on midair.
I had to make that joke at some point this episode. Mighty's the best. Okay, I don't want to hear it. Mighty and SPO are the best.
I want to see that Planet Earth episode about armadillos and learn about how they can float in the air.
I just love those characters. I have their first appearance actually above me. Knuckles Chaotix comic is to the left of me on my wall because that's how cool it is.
That comic's something else.
The amount. Oh, and another thing we hadn't mentioned yet. This game has gold apples, which increase your health.
Yeah.
And one of the bosses in the 5 senses, before I forget this, is a mouth, and it's literally you just to eat apples before, like Pac-Man. The Pac-Man level.
That was neat.
Cool. It was
again
cool
variety.
Concept.
The game's got a lot of variety.
There really is in this game. I mean, this is a game that if I would have played, back in the day, I would have really, really liked in 1995. A lot, I think. I think this would have been a game that I would have been talking about for years, and I still can't believe that I never, as a guy, I got an emulation big time, I want to say in the late 90s, and I still never played it until this year. I find that just strange. That this is
I guess it's the rarity, but it does seem, just like in retrospect, a game that should be held in. I didn't even know it. Like I kind of pride myself. I'm a student of retro games. Like I grew up in that era. I had a Genesis and never even heard of this thing, and that just seems wrong.
Yeah,
there's no way I would have beat this back in the day, though.
This is the guy that beat Fester's Quest and Darkwing Duck legit, and you're telling me you wouldn't have beat this? Okay.
Last year, I guess Darkwing a couple years ago, but still, as a kid, there's no way.
Okay.
Without being able to cheat.
Well, it's confusing. I agree. I mean, there's stuff that, but I don't know. I feel like as a kid, I beat Mystic Quest. I mean, I know that's not much, but I would beat games and just figure it out eventually. You would just talk to everybody multiple times and just see what happened.
That was back when we had all the time in the world.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you could have sent away for the hint book. There's like a mail order hint book for the thing.
I remember with Final Fantasy 6, I ordered the player's guide through the mail. I remember that. Or Final Fantasy 3. And we tried to order 2, but at the time that we were trying to order it, it wasn't. I think it must have been out of print because we never got it. We never sent our money, but we were trying to order, but we never got it. And I remember that. But I have 3. Dashi talked to the author too. That wrote that book. Cool guy.
Cool.
But Yeah, I went and stalked him on Facebook and found him and sent him a message. And he
See, now it
responded.
sounds less cool. Now it just
I know, that was the point of it. But yeah, I went and Googled him on Facebook. I said, where can I find him? I found him. So yeah, nice guy. But we talked. We did an episode about it, and I interviewed him. But one of the other things I want to mention about this game is you have a giant chameleon as a boss, which I thought was interesting. You have a weird cactus thing where you have to, like, it plays like you have to figure out which one is the real one and only hit that or you get hurt.
Yeah.
So,
I like the chameleon. I thought the chameleon was particularly neat.
I think like going through the game as a whole, especially where this was like 1995, so you were sort of post Gunstar Heroes and some of the cool Konami games. I think it was post Gunstar Heroes. Some of the cool Konami games that were kind of pushing the Genesis, and you were getting a lot of these neat special effects. Like this game totally dabbles in that, you know, like even using the different layers with the mouth and the chameleon and just like the rope boss too. Like there's just so many interesting effects. I'm not saying they're nearly as effective as in something like a Gunstar Heroes, but it's just cool to see them trying it.
Yeah, that rope boss. That's a straight out of like Undertale moment.
Yeah,
I don't know if you guys have played Undertale, but that's like
I have not.
Oh man, just that exact type of humor.
So I think what
have
you
no
mean is
idea why I
that's
haven't.
straight out of a Crusader of Centy moment in Undertale.
Ooh.
Nobody knew at the time.
The guy who made Undertale knew.
It's possible. I mean, he
Toby
did play
Fox.
old RPGs. I mean, he
Yeah.
made a hack of Earthbound that I know he was famous for before he made Undertale. There's a random knowledge.
Speaking of the enemies, because it's the Genesis, you get plenty of them that are just made up of balls.
Yeah.
You get a few different worms, and then the big snowman in the ice palace. Genesis
It's easy.
Not
love
like
their
the big
balls.
snowman.
The Genesis love to manipulate balls.
You know?
Oh, and this game is nice and cheap. If you want a loose cartridge from Canada, $618 right now.
Yeah, see?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's a very highly sought after
What's that in Malins? What's the exchange rate there?
Malins. And I mean, I think one of the other reasons it was like that too is because where it's such a late stage release, it's one of the cardboard box games. So it's probably not easy to find a full, decent shape cardboard box for it.
No, going the legit complete in box is like $1,600. Someone's selling it for $2,300. Like, yeah, it is.
Good Lord.
But all for the reproduction cart, you can buy a reproduction cart only for $280.
Jesus.
Wait, that's not a reproduction.
ridiculous.
No, yeah, but there's a reproduction cart that's like, yeah, it's just some stupid shit. Well, here's one, not genuine, no save option for $15. So they made a fake cart, but you can't save in the fake cart.
Will look good on your shelf.
Fuck that. Yeah, I guess that's just a display thing.
I
If
if
I
you're
didn't
gonna
know
display it, I would want the actual box at least.
Mhm.
The display, not just a cart. Like, oh look, but I guess that's the era when we ripped the boxes up and threw them away.
Yep.
I regret that immensely when I look back at my life. Like, I really wish I would have kept some of those boxes.
Yeah.
But Super Nintendo games were just ripped open and away they went. I did that with Funko Pops at first too. I regret that. But yeah, anything else? Trying to think any other animals that we should mention. Oh, you were mentioning about the cat. The cat heals you when you die, but I never used it. I only used it once by accident, and I just loaded. I could, so I didn't really get to see it.
Not an animal, but we were talking about enemies. The little walking tree trunks that like shot pieces of their tree.
Screw those things.
Probably
they were the worst.
The most infuriating one, to me in the game.
They were
I
miserable.
hated those little bastards.
Me too.
You go back in the past and they're twice as strong.
Yeah.
Which makes no
Enemies
sense.
in the past were- yeah, right. A dilution of like the gene pool has led to.
There is something else we need to talk about.
Yes, please.
So you go through the training area to get the 3 medals so you can get the Holy Sword. Blake, tell us about this NPC and the silver medal.
Yeah, I can't believe no one. And oh man, fucking A. All right, this is a whole thing. Okay, so yeah. You go. This is. I guess the sword is optional too, right? Like you don't have to do that.
You don't
at
need the
all.
Holy Sword, no.
No, you don't.
Crazy. Okay. Well, that course is like moderately difficult. Whatever. Well, you get the 3 medals. You go up to, and there's the Billy, I think is his name is. He's a little asshole. He's standing outside the castle. You can tell him, he'll ask you for your medal. And I of course, save state. And I'm like, no, at first he's like, I hate you. And he's a dick about it. And I was like, well, yeah, fuck this guy. So, I reload it. And you're like, if you say yes, I'm expecting to. He takes the medal. He takes your silver medal. And then you go talk to the king. The king's like, well, looks like you need to do some training. And I was like, can you go back and get it? Are you? I looked online. I was digging on fucking message boards that haven't been touched in decades. And no one has brought this up. Like, There was one guy who mentioned he was making fake achievements for the game, and it was like, give Billy your silver medal, and that was it.
Tell me this is a game my mom found exclusive.
Yeah, you got a real hero brand situation going on here. It's just your game.
And he just keeps it, and then you talk to him again. He's like, "Thanks for the medal, Dick," and that's the
Dumbass.
that's the end of the interaction. Even the king's like, "Yeah, sorry, fucking should have gave Billy your medal. Now you can't get the holy sword of heroes."
That's a weird choice. Weird. That would be in there.
I'm curious. Maybe one day I'll learn if you can go back and just re-get the silver medal, because the boxes, if you notice, you get the gold and it kind of, the shortcuts take you back right to where the silver medal is, and of course the box is open. Does it reclose again? There's a lot of questions about this world. I gotta figure out here.
My guess is that you get it back, that you can go do it again and go through it, because it doesn't sort of get anything that special. Like, it only exists in one. It's just something that you do.
Well, no, because Eamon gets the holy sword at the beginning of the game. So, like, I guess there's just a bunch of these fucking holy swords hanging around.
He's giving them out.
A, yeah. And then B, now fucking Billy's got my sword.
They got a priest in the castle whose only job is to bless the holy swords.
That's the one thing he does.
It's just a weird thing that is there that, because, I could see that, fucking you over, and if you hadn't saved for a while, you're like, bullshit. Like,
you just lost the sword for the rest of the game. Like, most games, I feel like it's like a trick. You say yes, and like Billy, I just totally would be like, it's like, I'm just kidding. You keep your mouth, whatever.
Because you can't even get the holy sword towards the end of the game, because you can't get it until you get your human speech back, because you have to talk to the king. So you can ruin your entire run.
Totally.
That sucks. Weird choice.
Yeah, that really is
funny though. Just so bizarre. He's just sitting right there, just begging. I was like, fucking weird.
But I only talk to people that the guy told me to talk to.
Yeah,
that too. Oh, we also should mention that in Europe, this game is called Soleil, and then but they changed it when it came here, because I guess they thought people wouldn't like that.
Well, who speaks French here? Besides, half of my country, who speaks French here?
Oh, it's a French word? Wow, I did not put
Soleil
that together.
is French for sun. Yes.
Oh,
that's why your main character's default name is Corona.
There you go.
Wait, we do have to make that joke. I found that funny now. Oh, also, I do want to say Corona beer is not good.
Okay.
So, put that out.
You heard it here first, folks.
It's not. I've had it a couple times in my life, and I'm like, this is only good if you put a lime in it. If you got to put a lime into your beer to make it good, well, it's not a good beer.
Corona's overrated. There's like a dozen Mexican beers that are way better.
Modelo is really good. Dos Equis Lager, Dos Equis Amber, both those are good.
All good.
Anyway.
So, did you guys...
I just shortened his name to Coro.
No, I just thought it funny.
Did you guys ever take... up in the king's room, right? You can go to the king's room in the castle, and there's like a cheetah skin rug.
Yep.
if you take your cheetah there, he mentions it. It was like, this could be my relative. I just like, I don't know. That's the kind of things I love in these games. It's like 95% of people who play this would never think to do that, and the game was just like, fuck it. Like, yeah, it's cheetah.
You actually get you get one of the life apples from it.
I think,
you do.
You get the life apple. Yeah.
Oh, and in the Sky Garden, I know it isn't, but I swear it looked like a John Lennon reference to like the old guy that you're talking to. That's up there. It had the glasses like John Lennon, and I thought he said something about peace, and I'm like, he said all I write are peace and love songs, and it just made me think of.
I'm pretty sure that was a John Lennon reference.
Okay, probably, yeah.
Because he makes that joke in real life to Paul McCartney. He's like, all you write are silly love songs. And then he wrote a really good song called Silly Love Songs, which I like.
Again, game needs a better translation.
What do you mean? A John Lennon?
There's these little gems all over the place in here, but everything else is unintelligible.
Well,
I just like to think that some guy was like, this looks like, I'll just put this in here because I got to put text.
Well, I showed Mike. Y'all may have seen it on the credits. Like, I love it. The end credits says game design. It just says all staff. Like, that's the entirety of the credit. It's like, zero fuck given.
Was that I guess they didn't really give credit at first, did they, to people in games, like in the very beginning?
Well, a lot of them were under pseudonyms.
Look down upon
it was
games.
It was an anti-recruiting measure, right? They didn't want they didn't want other companies chasing after their best people, so used pseudonyms. That's why and it was only in Japanese games. That's why you only saw, I'm trying to think of one right now. There were a few people that it was made clear that they were actually, later on because they were in games and you'd see what their actual names were.
Bun Bun.
Yeah.
There's one you see in a lot of Capcom games.
Yeah.
I guess I was mixing up with
a lot of those too.
Metal Gear Solid. All the voice actors use different names because it was kind of looked down upon to do voice acting in video games.
I could see that. Yeah.
That's weird. Like,
Of course, I would say
I'm
Metal
glad
Gear
that's
Solid would be
changed.
one of the games that changed that perspective, probably.
Yeah.
hey, now if you have a good voice actor in your game, you can go on a award show and talk for 10 minutes in front of Al Pacino and make him upset.
God.
Okay.
Jesus.
I felt so bad for Al Pacino in that moment because the guy's like 1,000 years old and they didn't give him a chair to sit on. It's just like, dude, like you're making me stand here for like 10 minutes.
They didn't expect Christopher Judge to talk for exactly 8 minutes
No.
during his acceptance speech.
I like Keelik. That guy's a good actor. So that's where I know him from. SG-1. 10 seasons I watched in like 3 months.
Yeah.
Whew.
I didn't know anything about him, but yeah, that's right.
Stargate SG-1 is worth watching. It's a lot. There's a lot of TV. I think it took me longer than 3 months, but I watched the entire series. I don't know if I recommend that, but I did.
God.
He's in it the whole time. He doesn't leave. Unlike the other main characters, they both leave for a season. A couple throughout there. They're like, oh, we're done. Bye. So.
Need that paycheck.
Okay. Anything else we should mention that we haven't covered yet?
Probably.
I mean, there's not much. The game's not very long, so
No, it's not. I
think we've covered everything.
Okay. All right, and we'll go to questions, comments, memories. We'll have stuff to talk about from there. So let's see what I got. It's not loading. From the official Laser Time community, I got a couple. From Andy Ryan. So I found this when I was in 7th grade at a local grocery store. I made my poor mom rent the same copy 4 times over 2 months so that I could beat the game because I loved it so much. I kept trying to find it to buy as a collected classic game, but as everyone knows, the price for this cart skyrocketed and I just could never make it work. I had it through emulation, and eventually I loaded the ROM onto a donor cart. This year, my wife got me the Sega Mini 2 just so I could play this game.
See?
I'm really happy that this game is... there's so many comments like that. I'm so glad about the Sega Mini 2. I'm so glad this game is available now in some way. Because like when I posted this, I thought nobody was going to comment, and I was completely wrong.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things I love about the Mini 2 and the collections as well, because I know that I think hardcore collectors will complain about like it'll deplete the value of the physical copy, which I don't believe is true. But honestly, I also don't give a shit. Like, you're buying. The reason the game is expensive is not because it's a good game, and that goes for any of these games. The reason it's expensive is because of rarity, and it's like, okay, but that has nothing to do with. That shouldn't have any bearing on my ability to play it and enjoy it. So I love that there are like, and if you don't believe in emulation, which I'm not one of those people, I totally am down with emulation. But if you're worried about having a legit way to play it, I love that there's a legit way to actually play these things that doesn't include giving some collector thousands of dollars.
Yeah, because that's just... I'm also the same way. I hate the fact that like people will, because the people are also spending $2,000. They're not playing this game. They're never playing any of those games. They just put them on a shelf and be like, hey, look what I own.
Yeah, or it's an investment,
which I don't like.
And I mean, you know what? That's their right, but that's not what I want them for. I want to play it. So
yeah, I mean, it just bothers me the fact that like people like that, like you're saying, get upset when something gets re-released because then it hurts. Yeah. Like you're not. That's a whole different story. Like people should be able to play this game that people make.
This is a bit of a one-off thing, but I just found out that in the UK, the dog's name is Johnny, and now I'm fucking even more curious as to how the invisible.
Just Johnny spelled out.
It still says Mac.
I mean, what is it? I feel like it couldn't. Isn't it one letter per room?
One letter per room. So
you can't spell Johnny with only 3 letters.
Probably like one innocuous line's like, oh, my nickname is Mac. People call me that.
One NPC in the forest 6 stages back mentions it.
Apparently in the expert course, if you cut down on the grass in a specific field, coins appear that spell out the word funk.
There's also Atlas spelled out in the sand in one place.
Well, I was curious about the Atlas thing because Atlas only published it in the U.S. So, like, I'd love to go back and see because it was a Sega game elsewhere, but there aren't the same number of letters. This is Johnny.
But you lowlifes can call me Johnny.
Okay, from John Silverman. Not even heard of it, but it looks charming. Love me some Zelda clones on Genesis. Beyond Oasis and Landstalker were amazing games.
Yeah, I tried to start Beyond Oasis after this. I'm like, I think I need a break before I dive into another one of these.
I do want to play both of those someday because I'm trying to go back and play some of these old Genesis games that I skip.
I mean, like Beyond Oasis is another one that it's technically a Zelda clone, but it plays so different that it's worth playing, and it's animated beautifully. And what was the other game?
Landstalker, which is also very different.
Landstalker is awesome, really hard to play. I played through it on stream last year or the year before. I got through it, but the game is tough. And the biggest issue with that game is it's an isometric game, but the main character doesn't cast a shadow. So you get into these jumping puzzles, and it's really hard to tell where your character is. Like, you definitely need to save state that thing, because I remember I beat it legitimately back in the day, and I did enjoy it, but today I do not have the patience for it.
So this is neat. Did you guys know that there was a hint book released alongside the game that you had to mail in?
Absolutely
and
not.
No online scan of it exists, according to Wikipedia.
Wow.
It itself is a rare collector's item.
Yeah, the problem is the rare collectors that have are like, hey, I'm not scanning this online.
Yeah,
I'm
we
not
don't want to
fucking
ruin the
scanning
value.
it, yeah. Obviously.
I fucking hate that. I really do. I own a few rare PS2 games, but like I don't own them because they're valuable. I own them because I bought them and I played them, and I just don't care. I don't want to sell them.
Yeah.
I'm assuming Shadow Hearts has some value. I don't know.
I want the fucking hint book now.
Well, I'm sure somebody will gladly sell it to you on eBay for thousands of dollars.
$2,500.
Apparently, would have told you to bribe the cheetahs. You can win easier.
Yeah, because you talk to him, he says, the rabbit. Oh, he says the rabbit gives me two coins for every 10 he makes, so I'll cheat. So you can bribe me and I'll run slow.
I just raced that asshole, and I got kind of close like the second time, and then I'd never.
You can beat him.
Close.
But I just find it funny that has that joke in there, like, you know, the whole boss meme thing, like, my boss makes $10 for every dollar I make, so I shit on the clock or something like that. That meme that goes around.
Yeah, boss makes $1, I make a dime, so I put on company time.
It's only $800 for the used hint book. So let me grab my wallet.
Hey, you could use that on Marvel Snap and get 10 cards maybe in some 10 bucks.
What a bargain! Honestly.
Right. From another comment from Stephanie McKeon. I remember seeing a few in KB stores well after Genesis was relevant. Had me thinking KB was selling KO video games, but because I never heard of his title in any magazine. I'm not sure what KO means. All right, let's see.
Knockoff. KO.
Oh,
knockoff.
Thank you. That makes sense. Sense. Okay, and I got a few comments from Giant Bomb. First from Daniel Jones. Is this on any of the Genesis collection?
It's on the Genesis Mini 2.
Before that? Nope. Which again,
I don't think so. Maybe it is, but I don't think so. Oh, okay.
But also, like, just how many? I mean, think about how many Sega Genesis collections we got over the course, like in the PS2 era, the 360 era. We got, but this game never got re-released until the Mini 2.
Mm-hmm.
It's just weird to me.
It's
This is
on
a
my
game
phone.
that should be.
I mean,
my phone Genesis collection.
when did Atlas? Because isn't Atlas and Sega and everything under the Sammy umbrella now? Like, when did that happen? Maybe that's why we're starting to see it appear.
Oh, I didn't think about that. I didn't know about that either.
It was before Persona 5, but I don't think it was terribly long ago.
Yeah, I don't think it was that much further back, though. Yeah.
Okay. From Scott Johnson. I first heard about it from the Gaming Historian video he did on YouTube. I haven't had a chance to play it, but it looked pretty cool. From Simon Hedlund. I keep getting stuck early on, but it seems like good shit that deserved more recognition.
That's a back of the box quote.
Yeah.
From
like
Cody Carey.
The developers like, we think it's good shit. Who knows?
Okay. From Edward McGowan. It was actually one of my favorite games I played growing up. Anything to get my Zelda-like fix. I actually looked it up a few years ago because I wanted to see if I could get it on modern machine to replay, but couldn't find anything at the time. I mean, you can, just other ways.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Oh, I was from Jason B. I was a SNES kid and never heard of it until the Genesis Mini 2 was announced, and it was revealed it was one of the games on it. That is a good thing, as it's one of the most expensive Genesis cartridges out there. That is great true. Great true, what the hell? From Chris Murray, those late era Genesis games never got any attention.
Yep.
Didn't Comic Zone come out the same year and it's like on everything?
Yeah, but that was Sega first party.
Yeah, that right.
The game sucks.
I think it does kind of suck.
It's hard. It does.
That's
not
why it sucks.
suck.
If a game is too hard for me to like, okay, if I get hurt while I'm hitting the enemy that I have to hit, I don't like your game.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know. I played Comic Zone so many times over the years. I remember playing it in Sears, but I've never beaten it, even when I cheated. Like, I've just never gotten through that game yet. One day. It does look cool, though.
There's some invincibility cheat.
Oh, okay. Maybe one day I'll play it then. And from Jerome Castro, I only saw it in magazines. Has a great Sonic cameo, though.
Yep.
It has a Sonic cameo.
It's got all right. And then from the last group that I'm going to read from, I'm from Sega Genesis group. I'm not reading all these. But I got a lot actually. I was surprised. People had a lot to say, and I'm like, really? Here's a good one from Jake Black. I loved it. It was short but good. Reminded me a little of Willow, which is the NES game, which I've never played.
Oh yeah, I can see that. That's a good game. I recommend that game.
I want to try it. I didn't even know it existed until I think I was watching a speedrun of it last year, and I'm like, oh, I should play this one day.
Has very little to do with the movie.
That's fine. There's not that much. The movie's okay. I just apparently watched it for the first time last week, and I hadn't realized I'd never seen the whole movie before.
I have a really soft spot for that movie, and my oldest daughter is sort of into the same kind of like fantasy and films that I am. So it's like, oh, we're gonna watch Willow. You're gonna love it. And we watched it, and she was like, it was okay. I was like, man, you're grounded.
And from Dave Goodwill, it's known as Soleil over here. Crap name, I feel. I actually prefer the U.S. name. My dad rented this out back in the day. It's always been one I loved and hope to finish one day. Got really far on it in the 90s, but got stuck, and there were no guides to refer to.
Should have got an $800 hint guide.
What a chump.
Okay. From Matthew McKinney, I was playing it on my EverDrive, and I really liked it. I got a little bored of it and stopped playing, but I do play a little now and then. All right. Oh, from Dallas Rice, I like to try it out someday. I collect Zelda clones, and since that franchise is one of my top favorites.
You should try this out.
Matt Fair as well. Way more animation, but fewer colors than its SNES equivalents. Classic Genesis.
I can't tell if that's an insult or a compliment.
It sounds like an insult to me.
Yeah.
But you're right.
The colors are a bit muted, I guess, compared to like a Link to the Past or something.
Well,
like
was
that.
fine.
Yeah.
I thought.
fine.
I mean, I didn't have any
fine.
issues with the graphic at all or the sound in this game when the sound was on.
You know what? Let's talk about the sound for a minute, because I felt like that it was kind of all over the place, because I really like the tunes. But you go into some areas where it's like, oh, this really sounds great. And then you go into another area where it got that really harsh Genesis sound going. It's like, yeah. And it's like, ooh, that's a little, I'm going to turn the speaker down a little bit.
Yeah. Some of them are kind of dissonant. There's like, so like the overworld theme, like I kind of hum it. I'm literally humming in my head, like taking out my pig this morning. Like, but you're in the forest, one of the early forest. And I just kept thinking it sounds like a casino.
Yeah.
Like, they were like oddly dissonant, like they didn't match the area they were in, even though I did kind of overall kind of like the tunes.
Yeah, that was a good soundtrack overall, but I agree with you.
I feel like I summed it up pretty well in the group chat that they're really catchy tunes, but they're not really memorable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Oh, and you also get chased by bees in this game that look like the one from Link to the Past, but you can't hit them because your sword sucks.
You can hit them.
When you get lucky.
Yeah.
I couldn't hit them for the life of me.
They don't damage you. They just push you around. So I just kind of let them push me until they finally just gave up and left.
Oh, okay. I thought they hurt you. I wasn't paying enough attention, I guess.
They can hurt you. I think the whole key to them is like, especially in the Sky Palace or whatever it's called, you come across a lot of them when you're standing on thin platforms. They'll all knock you off into the void.
Yep.
So they hurt you that way, but they don't damage you.
They will pick you up and carry you around up, like at one point.
Just like
They're
a real
let
life.
you down.
Just like a real bee.
So,
This game taught me a lot about animals between armadillos and bees.
And the cheetahs can be bought.
Yeah, if you're ever in the savannah, and cornered by a cheetah, just give him $20 and he'll look the other way.
Oh god, that reminds me of on one of the other episodes we did. I think it's Shadow of the Tomb Raider. We talked about cheetahs and how well they can murder you and things.
Oh yeah,
because Cody, one of my guests on the show frequently, he's a big animal guy because he works on a ranch, and we always get drunk and talk about animals. And I think we had a whole thing even about cheetah or jaguar, but how quickly they can murder you.
Sounds about right.
It should have been a hedgehog. We've already got Sonic. Let's make it a hedgehog. Makes you faster.
That would have been cool. Why couldn't the armadillo be mighty? I mean, why could you just give him a red stripe? Just, you already got Sonic. Just make him fit in the right sprite, and I would have been happy.
Mike, he can float in midair. What more do you want from an armadillo?
Just like Knuckles.
For the longest time, I wanted echidna. I thought they were the coolest thing, and I found out they don't look very cool.
Mm-hmm.
They're
Hedgehogs
not red.
are adorable, though.
Fucking Knuckles is one of my favorite characters ever. Especially when I was a kid, he was. Okay, a few more I want to read. Let's see here. Oh, from Jeff Kennedy. Never before, the price is an utter propped up scam, but I now have the mini intuitives in there. I'll get to it.
Yep.
Here's another one about pricing. From Toby Bradford. I just had a look at the pricing on eBay. Why is the Genesis version much more expensive compared to the Mega Drive version? Because
I assume because the Genesis version is rarer.
Yeah. All right, I think that's all I want to read. So that'll bring us to our last segment, Shelf Stacker Box. And Mike, why don't you go first?
I'm going to keep it vague because these other two gentlemen will say it better than I will. But it does a lot of unique things, it tries a lot of different things. Some of them don't work, some of them do. But it was ultimately pretty fun. I'm glad I finally got around to it, so I will put it in the stack.
Okay. What about you, Greg?
I forget what shelf means.
Shelf means you really like it.
Oh, yeah. You know what? I would put it on the shelf. But for the same reasons, really. I think it's a pretty game. I think it does some really interesting things. Again, it's not always successful, but it's experimental, and so it's pretty unique. I mean, I don't remember playing anything too similar. Plus, I want to put it on the shelf because I want people to know that I own a game that's worth thousands of dollars.
Okay. Do you actually own this?
No.
Okay. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe you had it in your collection.
No, I was, like I said, I'd moved on. I have 32X games from 95, and I have Saturn games from 95. I don't have a whole lot of Genesis games from 95.
Whenever I hear you talk about Saturn, I keep thinking how I need to one day play Saturn. Like, I have never played
Oh, you're killing me.
any Saturn games. I know I want to. It's just you can't emulate it that well.
Shining Wisdom is on Saturn.
Yeah, don't play Shining Wisdom, but there are a lot of great Saturn games.
No, it's on my list. Because I don't. Is there a Sega Saturn emulation?
Saturn emulation has gotten really good, actually. I forget what the best one is. I have a Polymega, and the Polymega emulation is quite good.
Okay, but I would need real disc for that then. So
yes, that's true.
That's not happening.
So I realize now what I just said is not helpful, but I'm just saying.
No, you're good. I do. At some point, I do want to play because I'm trying to go back and play and that's one of the systems that I have no. The only thing I ever remember of Sega Saturn or the only experience I had is a friend of mine had it and we played Virtual Cop once, and that was my only memory.
The best thing about the Saturn is the Saturn has a fantastic library and nobody played it. So and I'm being totally honest, what I love is someone who was a big Saturn fan back in the day and I would be the guy at the rental store telling you, oh, it's better than the PlayStation. But the best thing about it is someone who did experience those games back then is watching people discover all the great games on that system now. That's the coolest part because there are some really good games in that system.
I always wanted to play Clockwork Knight. The magazine ads made it look cool.
There are some really good games on that system and Clockwork Knight.
Excellent.
I've only ever played one Sega CD game too, which was Snatcher. So
yeah, there's some good stuff on that too, but it's not as strong as the Saturn.
Yeah, just systems that I missed, unfortunately, and on my list to go back to. Some Dreamcast. I've only played one Dreamcast game too, and that was because of Mike.
Cannon Spike.
Yep.
Cannon Spike.
It rules.
Yeah, that's the only Dreamcast game I ever actually played and beat.
Yeah, I love that's strange. The only Dreamcast game that's been on this show.
Yes, that too. So, someday I'll play more. All right, and Blake, what about you?
I'm putting mine on eBay. Sorry, guys, I'm taking the money.
That's good.
It's tough, man. Probably the box, but maybe not in the box. Maybe I'll put it in the attic so I can see it every now and then. I don't want it at the bottom of the box. You know what I mean? I want to see it every couple months. Yeah, I played that. I think honestly, at the time, if I played it new, it's good. Maybe even a really good game. But with the benefit of retrospect and everything, it's just that it's too unpolished to hit the potential that is there. You know what I mean?
What could have been?
What could have been would put it on the stack, but what is, I think, unfortunately, goes in the box.
I think you're just trying to avoid the stack because it's the silver medal, and you're still heard about Billy.
I'm a little upset about it. I'm not gonna lie to you. Because I have to go back and try. More of my life is now devoted to fucking Billy and his theft of my silver medal.
You gotta play the other version. Find out if it's Johnny in the sky or not.
So many questions.
This is like the Silent Hill 2 episode where we unravel the whole story after the fact.
All right, now I'll go last. I'm a little torn because I feel like I want to put it on the shelf the more we've been talking about it, but because I also played this game 2 weeks ago at this point, or even maybe 2 or almost 3 weeks ago, so I don't remember it as well, and my memory is more fonder. But I want to say that I think my experience would have been stacked because I had fun, I enjoyed it, but I don't ever need to play it again. It's not something that I don't think I would. I mean, I don't know if I tell that many people oh, you need to go play this, but it was still a good game. I mean, it's a really good game, and I'm really glad I got to experience it. But I think I'll put it in the stack.
I like how you said that talking about it's made you want to put it in the stack, but or the
No,
the
talking
shelf.
about maybe want to put it in the shelf because
Yeah.
we've had. I mean,
But-
yes, I know we bitch, but we were bitching in earnest.
We spent
wasn't like we were
70% of the
complaining.
episode complaining.
But it was like fun complaining. It wasn't like, oh, this is garbage. It was more like, this is hilarious.
It's only because we love you, Centy. We promise.
Uh-huh.
Oh, it's a good
It's
game.
that polished turd kind of garbage.
It's
Yeah.
not like Lagoon garbage, okay? Oh, that's
Yeah, that game is absolute garbage.
I do not. But no, this
Sorry.
is.
Sorry, Lagoon fans.
Are there
I
any?
apologize to both of you.
Hey,
was
when
gonna say,
in
how many
games,
are-
my mom, or not games, in games done quick, they have it as in the awful block whenever they play it.
Excellent.
So I think that should right there say its name.
That might be worth watching. Someone that actually knows how to play it.
It's okay. I've seen it. Oh, right. And I should mention what I'm going to be talking about next week. Next week, I'm going to be playing Mirror's Edge for the first time.
Nice.
We'll be talking about that.
Ooh,
Nice.
it's a good one.
And I wonder if Faith will be on my top 10 women in gaming if I write an article. All right, Blake?
Ooh,
She wouldn't be. But
she wouldn't. Be.
Wow.
just to make that joke, back when we did, I know at some point, Blake, you wrote an article and you put her in your top 10 list and you don't know why, you said?
Yeah, I reread my own article and was like, what is she doing here? I obviously just played Mirror's Edge and was like, she's such a blank protagonist. The game is fun though, so I hope
Yeah.
you enjoy it.
You'll hear all about that next week. All right. And Greg, where can people find you at?
You can find me on Twitter at Sewart, Sewart, on YouTube at Greg Sewart, Greg, Sewart, and every week on the Player One podcast, closing in on our 900th episode. So,
Wow.
we've been doing it a while. We're going to get good at it one of these days. Please come listen.
Yeah. Okay. If you enjoyed this episode, there's over 400 other episodes you go check out. Go check out our giant catalog. We do games, movies, comic, TV seasons. We do whatever the hell I convince people to talk with me about. So definitely go check out that giant catalog. If you want to support the show, we do have a Patreon. Right now, the poll is science fiction movies Mike has never seen, Blade Runner, Children of Men, Tron, and Ghost in the Shell, the animated version, not the Scarlett Johansson version, because I have to sell that in theaters, of course.
Uh-huh.
So you can go vote in that. And for this month, we do have a sponsor. So if you want to help support the show, also you can go buy tumblers from Angel's Tipsy Tumblers. You see the link in the show notes. You can go buy from her. She makes tumblers and also other different things. So definitely go check out her website, please. And there's a code, Games 2023. You'll save 10%. So go check that out. And please follow our Discord, and want to give a shout out to my awesome intro and outro courtesy of Helena at Hell Hasper. You can follow her on TikTok. She's TikTok famous now. This is awesome. And go tell her I sent you, and then she'll send me a thing, and she'll send me a picture of it. It makes me happy. So I'll go do that. And also want to give a shout out to Bill Tucker, who started his own podcast, Gamer Looks at 40. Definitely go check him out. He's still in the process for the last, 4 months, Mike, covering Zelda or something like that, it feels like.
Something like that.
Going through all the Zelda games. I've been on the show a few times now with interviews for him, but so definitely go check him out. I think that's everything I need to say. So we will see you guys next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.